Good evening, everyone. This is a very happy Nick, and I'm speaking to you for Critical Hit. Tonight, we'll be reviewing The Punisher, which came out, it dropped last Friday, today's Tuesday, dropped last Friday on Netflix, and of course, the fantastic thing about Netflix is that you get to watch all of them if you have the stamina. We're looking at 13 episodes here, varying between 45 minutes to 55 minutes, and for the whole part, each one is fantastic. So we are reprising the role of the Punisher with Jon Bernthal. We saw him we saw him first and then last in season 2 of Daredevil. He actually helps out our horny hero at a very long distance with a sniper rifle, and yeah, he's pretty awesome. So this movie, we're actually not exactly sure when it takes place. We get the idea it is a little bit after the events of Daredevil, but we don't hear anything about the Defenders in this. At least I didn't catch up. Didn't pick up on anything, so I might be completely wrong there. But it wasn't rubbed in your face. We do hear a couple of references to other people, from Luke Cage to, I don't think they mentioned Jessica Jones, but they do mention Daredevil, just because of the fact that we have Deborah and Karen Page. Sorry, I always get the person's name and the character's name. So she appears in this as well. You know, the redhead who used to be paralegal and is now working at a newspaper. So, yeah, like I say, the great thing about this is we're following Frank Castle, and it starts with him in a pretty bad space. I'm not going to give spoilers in this, okay, so I will try my hardest not to give spoilers in this. It starts with him in a bad space because we all know that the guy's got PTSD, it's hectic, and he sort of stands outside of these groups of men who get together. He doesn't want to participate in the clapping hands and sharing of issues, so he would stand outside the door listening in on them. And yeah, I mean, this is a very heavy show. There's a little bit of humor in it. It's quite difficult at times to see where the humor is, but there is certainly humor, especially later where he sort of meets up with his so-called partner. So yeah, this is very much about PTSD on all fronts, whether it be the bad guy, whether it be his own friends, for goodness sake. I mean, is it Curtis Hoyle? That's right. Jason Moore, brilliantly played. This is another thing, sorry, just sidetrack here. Everybody here brings their A game to the table. It's not like Iron Fist. Every one of the actors in this is superb. Some are better than others because they're given more meaty roles. Obviously, Frank will have a much meatier role. We've got people like Amber Rose River, who plays a detective of, I think, Iranian descent. And I love the fact that in the show that they don't make that a big thing. She actually even says, American. So it's very kind of upbeat to Donald Trump in that regard. But let me go back to that. So Frank, of course, is suffering from PTSD. We find out in Daredevil season 2 that his wife and his 2 children, a boy and a girl, are murdered by some nefarious people who you'll find out all about in this. And Frank sort of goes on a punishing mission. And my God, does he do that very well in Daredevil season 2, and he does even better in this. One of the things I was quite curious, well, not curious, but interested in is it's not as violent as Daredevil in the fact that we have 3 or 4 episodes of Frank, maybe even 5 episodes of Frank in Daredevil, and every one of those he's just a Blixen ball. He's like a nuclear bomb going off. In this, we have 13 episodes. Once again, I'll get to this a little later, but so you can't really have him killing everything for 13 episodes. If that was the case, I think most of America would be dead by the end of it. So there's a lot of pacing in this where you actually find a bit more psychology about him. It starts off very much with him having flashbacks when he's sleeping of his wife and when she actually gets killed. And then as he starts getting more and more involved in finding the perpetrators, you see less of that. So you can see he's getting distracted and feels that he's on a sort of a holy quest, as it were, and that he's not wallowing in his mire. So yes, like I said, Frank Castle is played superbly here by Jon, and it really is as I say, an exploration of PTSD. Moving further onto that, it's also an exploration on how, in this particular case, the American government deals with its soldiers, and whether this is true or not, it certainly is something that happens. People ending up fighting a couple of tours in Afghanistan or Iraq, which is in particular where they focus on in this, the atrocities that they commit over there under the sort of behest of their government, and come back and end up living on the streets, etc. So it's not really the way you want to treat your soldiers in any country. So they do focus very much on this. And that brings me to my main point about this movie. Series. It is a very real feeling show. You don't have anybody with superpowers in this. You don't have Luke Cage with his impervious body and you can barely kill him. You don't have Jessica with, again, I'm not quite sure what her powers are. She can kick ass and she can sort of block people out because of history that she's had with them. Then you have Daredevil, of course, you can sort of see, etc. But in this, and we've got Iron Fist, which can make his fist glow like he's holding a cell phone or a torch, and still not actually be convincing kicking anyone's ass, even if he is in the Defenders. So this is very real. I suppose Frank Castle does have a superpower. You can shoot the shit out of him, and a day later, rub some tea tree oil in there, everything's good to go, and he'll be doing his same, the same thing. So this is a very real feeling show, and even the baddie, and I have to say, I really did like the baddie in this. He's not a Wilson character of Daredevil. He is real. Even in Daredevil, the main bad, who is a normal human, he's not a meta-human, is a violent, he's like a tsunami, he's like a tornado, decapitating people with car doors. In this, the main guy is an absolute arsehole, don't get me wrong, and he has reasons as to why he is doing what he is doing. And I actually spoke to a friend just before I started doing this, JJ, so thank you, JJ, because I don't know the comics. JJ does know the comics, and he says that if he had not known the comics, he wouldn't know who the bad guy is going to be. And I'm a casual when it comes to these things. I love watching the Netflix, but I have not read the comics at all. So he had seen already from a mile away who the bad guy was going to be. I didn't really know who it was until a couple of episodes in, and I wasn't sure exactly if it was going to be this particular person, but it does, and it does set itself up for season 2. I think they might have 3 seasons left for this, actually. After the reception I have right now, it's actually sitting on 9.3 on IMDb. Funny enough, not so high on Metacritic. It's somewhere in its 50s, which I'm quite surprised about. Some real critics have nailed it for particular things, which I'll get to in a minute. So the strong things over here, we're looking at Ben Barnes. He is one of these ex-Special Forces, best friends with the Punisher. We have Karen Page, who does a couple of episodes, sort of cameos in here. Doesn't really play a particularly huge role. It is important, but not throughout the entire show. We have Dina, played by Amber Rose, and she's fantastic. My God, she is brilliant. She's a strong female character. She's not, basing her actions on, oh, I'm a mother, or anything she even says. If you are in this business or in this life, you don't have time for friends or family. And she's fantastic. She really is great. We have Mike Richard, who is such a great character. It took me a while to get warm to him or like him, but when you do, you really do love it. He's basically the exact polar opposite of what Castle is. And the banter that they have between, there's that one particular drunk scene that they have, is fantastic. It's soft, it's genuine, it's lovely, because he sort of shows the emotion. This is. I'm not going to give you any of the story, but he has the emotion. And the reason to do what he is doing. He still has something that he might be able to lose. We then have, okay, I'm not going to say anything because that'll give it away. We do have a sort of weird element that appears in this, and as I said, we're looking at people with PTSD, and they focus for about 4 episodes on a young kid, as a 26-year-old, called Lewis Walcott, played by Daniel Webber. Wow, this guy can act. Holy heck. I think we'll be seeing a lot from him in the future. This guy was intense, very convincing. Again, I'm not going to go into what he does, but it was a bit of a sort of side mission, a sort of side thing that happened here, and I'm not completely sure how necessary it was. It obviously added something and made it interesting, but again, I'll get to that a bit later. And we have brilliant people like Michael Nathanson, a fantastic, I can't pronounce her name, Reay Dashlow. She's in Expanse, and oh god, that voice of hers is absolutely beautiful. We've got Paul Schultz, who's fantastic. He's always very, very good. And as I mentioned earlier, Jason R. Moore, who is Castle's friend, who's actually lost a leg, fighting overseas. So yeah, as I said, it's a very real show. It's very, very violent as well when the violence is there. And as I said to you, it's not in every single episode. First episode, it certainly is. And my God, it's brutal. I had a couple of words with a friend online, on Twitter actually, and he said that he is not a very squeamish person, but some of the scenes, especially toward the end of the season, are pretty goddamn almost gore porn. And I have to agree with them. I was thinking about this the other day. They are probably unnecessarily gory. I don't care because I don't get affected by these things very much at all, actually. But you can see maybe they were just cranking it up because, you know, they can get away with it. But I don't know. I think it works very well, especially in the sort of romantic connections of what happens and why it happens. So yeah, to me, I think it is justified, but maybe it went a little bit too far. Like I said, it's like the last second or third or fourth to last episode. Yeah, so the story, just going, Marvel tends to have a sort of problem with when they're making their series, that it starts strong, it sort of ebbs in the middle, and then it finishes on a high, unless of course we're talking about Iron Fist, in which case you're just looking at more people. It is very good, the story is very good. It's very, very subterfuge, very almost Tom Clancy to a certain degree, and there are big surprises that happen throughout this, and moments where you just go, fuck, what the hell did they just do there, you know? Is this is this Game of Thrones? But again, I think there are 3 or 4 episodes in the middle that they probably could have pulled out. I don't think there's needed to be 13 episodes. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it very, very much, but as a critic, I don't think there were about 3 or 4 episodes that were needed, because it just slowed the pacing down. Now, I know this is not trying to be a, you know, A to Z action flick like some Bruce Willis movie every episode, but it does slow it down a little bit, and I think although they are doing a lot of character introspection there, it still, again, falls into that little rut that Marvel still hasn't quite corrected, even with season 1 and 2 of Daredevil, even with Jessica Jones, even with Iron Fist, certainly with Luke Cage, and even with Defenders, which I must say I was quite disappointed with. It's not as bad, I suppose, in this, because you are quite curious about the background of this of Frank Castle. But again, I think it did stretch it out just a little bit too long. And maybe, like I say, they cut back on maybe 3 episodes, maybe made it a 9-episode season or a 10-episode season. We're going to see a lot more Frank, I believe, from what I've read. And you really will want to see more by the end of this. It's very well put together. His character is very well developed too. As are all the other characters, in particular Dina, the head of Homeland. She's fantastic to watch. She's a very strong female actress, and it's, as I say, it's not one of these. I can just imagine all the guys out there. I know 1 or 2 have already gone, oh, SJW. Oh, fuck off. She's a very well developed character. She is flawed, just like Frank Castle is. To me, in certain ways, she is quite the mirror of what Frank Castle is. And trust me, by the end of this season, you're not going to want to, approach mirrors. I'm not going to say any more, but my God, whew. Again, the violence in this is pretty hectic. So I'm just going to go out here right now, and I'm going to say I'm going to give this a straight 8 out of 10. Again, there are pacing issues, which could have been sorted out, but you want to give your audience a lot of time to watch. But on the acting side, phenomenal from absolutely everybody. In particular, Jon Bernthal. He is intense to the nth degree. For a few moments, he sort of, that little facade breaks with his best buddy over here, Microchip. But at the same time, there's always this menace in the background. There's this sort of, this guy will kill you in 2 seconds and he won't give a fuck about it at all. Like I said, it sort of slowly changes into other things when maybe you could say he starts learning about himself. We don't know just yet, but that guy is like a coil waiting to spring. The action scenes in this are phenomenal. If you think Daredevil has done very well there, guess again. This is brilliant because, like I said, it feels real. It's not some flashy bouncing off a bloody roof, back kicks and shit like that. It's hardcore, visceral. Kind of reminded me of like The Raid, for example, with this like I say, violence in this. And I think that brings a certain sense of realism to it. It's not supposed to be real, of course. It's a Marvel, so it's taken a little bit back from there, but it's not real. But yeah, so the action is fantastic. Brilliant sound score. Wasn't expecting that. Very Motown. I like the intro. Very, very nice too. And yeah, like I say, the characters will definitely get under your skin. And like I said, there's quite a few surprises there. So yeah, an 8 out of 10 easily. I would highly recommend you binge watch this. Trevor, in fact, said to me that he doesn't usually binge watch things over the weekend. He watches, I don't know, up to half the season, and then he waits for the next weekend and he watches half the season. Not this time. And that's a testament to how engrossing, even if it is 13 hours long, this show will be. So please let me know what you guys think below. This will be the review for it because Kervin hasn't seen it just yet. Maybe later we'll do a full written one. Kervin knows the background and knows the canon. I don't. I just really, really thoroughly enjoyed this. So much good acting, my God, and very, very good writing too. I'm just trying to remember the name of the guy. I think it's Littlefoot. Is that right? I always get the bloody the actual creator. Yeah, sorry, Steve Lightfoot. So the showrunner over here, Steve Lightfoot, and wow, he did very well here. I mean, you have a lot of different directors, like they always do with these shows. I mean, seriously, you have 13 different directors kind of thing. But it just tied so well together. So the last thing I'm going to say over here is one batch, two batch, penny and dime.